wonderful presentation and so many anecdotes about what has been happening. May I invite Jahangir Gaya onto the stage, please? The format that we're going to have is that Jahangir will make some opening remarks about his experience from the other side, and we're then going to have a public interaction which he's going to conduct.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. I will be very brief because the interaction with the audience is what is more important. But I would really like Mrs. Rao to share her views on some very important aspects of consumer protection and the changing scenario. For instance, when the Act was first passed and the National Commission was set up, way back in the late 80s and early 90s, the National Commission used to decide cases in just one single hearing. If there are more cases, they would just let the case remain in cold storage. All the filing was done by post, and subsequently one fine day, a few limited number of cases, say around 20, would be listed. And all those cases, the presiding officer would read and come. The arguments would be restricted and very focused. And in just one trip, you could get a hearing and later a judgment. Now, over the years, although the benches have been increased, you find that that adjournments are being given merely for the asking. There are cases filed in the year 2003 where the National Commission is still giving adjournments. So if you could share your views on this.
Yeah, I must say, for a long time, National Commission sat as one bench for nearly 5 years that I was there, and at least 3-4 years, and 5 of us used to sit and decide every case. So too much time was being wasted, and too many cases were there to handle. We used to actually list 100 cases in the beginning, and we could barely do any justice. And luckily it was amended, and then the benches started forming, two-member benches, and they started having more benches. And now they have nearly 6 benches. And when the book was being released, Justice Jain, who is the president of the commission, assured the minister that if he gets 3 benches more, then he will clear all the backlog, and he'll make it as per the Act, that 120 days. That time is required because by the time somebody comes from across the country and then files the papers and all that, you need to have that kind of time. But he promised. So I take it that he is being serious at the National Commission, and they have started removing a lot of backlog. Even when we were there, we used to remove the dust of those cases, try to finish them. Because I'll tell you one thing, somewhere apathy comes in. You know, when there is so much of backlog and it is stuck for a long time, apathy comes in even in the person who filed the complaint. Chodo, abhi kya karna hai? So they don't even file the papers, documents. So they stay in a defective stage for a long time. Then we have to keep writing to them saying, will you please remove this defect? I know that we had to do that, and then literally remove that dust and clear the cases. So there's a deficiency in both sides. I'm not saying that is right, but I think with the number of extra benches in future, he promised that he will really make sure in 3 years he'll be up to date. And I believe him because he's been working very hard.
No, actually, my question, point was that those cases which are due for final hearing and everything is completed, all the documentation is completed, even those cases are being repeatedly adjourned. A person comes all the way from Kanyakumari, say, to the National Commission, and within 2 minutes, the bench says we don't have time, or they rise by 1 o'clock. Many of the benches don't sit in the afternoon. That is giving a lot of heartburn to the people.
I was told this was happening in the past few years, but earlier bench, I don't want to name during his time. But now I know Justice Jain is still sitting till 4:30. All benches are sitting till 4:30. That I know. So I think things are changing.
Okay, let's be hopeful on that. And one more point before it's thrown open to the public. You know, the Consumer Protection Act is the only legislation which does not prescribe any format for filing of complaints. As Mrs. Rao said, you just have to make a simple application. Just cover up points. Well, that was the spirit, aim, and objective of the Act. But today, we find, because there is no format, and each person who heads a particular district forum, state commission, or the national commission has his own views, his own perspective. So what happens is, since there is no format and they are all retired judges who are heading the consumer protection grievance forums, they come up with their own individual formats. So forget an individual consumer. Even advocates who are practicing in the consumer forum are finding it more technical and more difficult day by day. The National Commission lists a whole manner and sequence of filing documents which is put up on its website. The State Commission says leave so much margin here, first half page to be left blank. You go there with a notarized complaint and it's refused, saying that we won't accept it. So instead of making it simple, the objective is being frustrated because retired judges who are heading it have certain perspectives and they want to bring in the civil court procedures to the consumer forums very often. How do we curtail that, and what would you suggest?
It's unfortunate that they're doing that. It is not meant to be. They should be consumer friendly and people friendly. And in fact, these high level benches, staying at such a height itself is not right. They should be like this, to make people feel comfortable. They should not be awed by the bench. They should not say, oh my God, I'm scared to talk to these people. They're just ordinary people. What is difference between you and me? You just, I chose that line, you chose a different line. Otherwise, we're all just the same people. We're just using different ways of looking at life and doing different work. But a lot of people come with a lot of ego and arrogance that I'm a judge and I'm this, I'm that, whatever it is. They really scream at the people and they'll make, whatever he's saying. It happens in some forums, and which is not right. Actually, in Delhi, we have a lot of this training, courses for all the members and the judges to come periodically in Indian Institute of Public Administration, where we used to also go and speak to them and tell them how to deal with the subject and how to be consumer friendly and how to put yourself in the shoes of a consumer. Why would they come and knock on your doors unless there is a problem? They're coming all the way to National Commission. There has to be something. So listen to them, give them time. But there is, as he says, it is there, but now that is, slowly it has to change. People should now talk about them being arrogant, and that should be rectified, which is not right. And to be technical, not at all required. There's no need to be so technical. And if that is the case, the lawyers or consumer organizations can put an application together saying this is not done to the National Commission. I'm sure that will be looked at.
Okay, now we'll have question and answers from the audience. Please ask questions which are of general public interest. Specific instances may be, so long as it relates to a general public importance, even specific issues can be given as an example. So we can start with the audience now.
My name is Sushil Moore. I had booked a ticket through a site called Make My Trip. Now my grievance is there, and that grievance, the evidence has been obliterated by the very structure of the site. I'll tell you in brief what happened. I wanted to book a return ticket which was refundable because I was not sure I would travel. So I checked the refundable airline that I selected the airline, I selected the flight, I booked it, I paid the money, and immediately on paying the money, the site says you can print a ticket. So I printed a ticket which said it is refundable, and it also showed that in case I cancel the ticket, what would be the deduction. Then I got a confirmation email from Make My Trip that within 2 hours your ticket will be emailed to you. After 2 hours, after 3 hours, after 4 hours, still there was no sight of the ticket. So I had already taken a printout, so I knew okay, there's nothing wrong. I hoped there's nothing wrong.
So you'll have to keep your question short.
Yeah, after some time when I went to cancel it, I was told that the ticket is non-refundable. I said, but I have taken a printout and here is the printout. But they said, okay, that is not what our e-ticket says. Because their e-ticket which was sent to me after 5 hours, although they said it will be sent in 2 hours, I had not seen it. But
no, please directly come to the point. Don't
the point
elaborate.
Is, now they are saying it is non-refundable. Although I have got a printout which says it is refundable. So they are not refunding the money.
Okay, so in short, the issue here, which I think you want the answer to the question is, that when the one website gives one instruction, and ultimately the airlines gives a different ticket, what should you do? Am I right?
No, it was the website which is at fault.
The website of Make My Trip gave you a particular information that it's refundable. The airline, when it issued the ticket, said it's not refundable.
The airline does not issue the ticket. It is the website which issues the ticket. It is the website which said...
Why didn't you see it after 5 hours when they sent it to you? Why
because
did you not
there was no need. I already had a printout which gave all the details of the flight and I could board the flight on that. So there was no need to take another... I did not know when, after how many hours it will come. So only when I went to cancel it that I realized that now they are saying it is non-refundable.
I mean, one has to see the terms. I mean, whatever that is written in the ticket at the time of purchase and at the time of offer and at the time of you saw it and you took the printout and when they sent it in 3 hours later, in principle. But if there is somewhere even that small, that small print they write, it is always normally applicable. But you can always file and argue your case that this is what happened, and if you think it is, injustice on their part and they've led you wrong on wrong note, you can always file. But you have to be sure. You can say, within 2 hours, I took this, and after 5 hours, that something must have happened. I had no idea. But as per this ticket, I am valid, to get the refund.
Hello, I am Dinesh Rana. I filed a consumer case in the 2011, and for last 1 year, the judge who was hearing the case resigned, and for last 1 year, there is no hearing. I always go to on the date, but they always postpone it. So for 1 year there is no hearing. So now from 2011 there is no the things. I don't know when it will be finalized. So what is the way out? What I have to do? If the judge resigned and there is no judge coming, so what?
That must be the Mumbai Suburban District at Bandra.
Bandra.
There was a problem. Now there is a presiding officer appointed. All that you can do is wait your turn because everybody is interested in the cases coming up. So that is what I said. Sometimes there are judicial delays due to various reasons and you just have to bear with that. Ultimately, you'll get justice, you'll get interest, you'll get compensation, you'll get everything. But you must have the tenacity to fight your case to the very end.
How many more years I have to wait?
Till nobody can answer that question because there are others. If your case is taken up out of turn, there'll be others who will object.
I told you it's a state subject and each state should be interested in their consumer forums. Some states are not interested, so they're just like this stepchild treatment they give to the consumer forums. So you have to really, as voluntary organizations, you must step up your agitation against the state for not making sure their forums are functioning correctly. It's your right to fight that.
2 questions. In case of fraud by employee of a bank or say any service provider, if it's a fraud, can we go to consumer court against the institution, against the bank stating that their control systems were not in place?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just as hospital has to have vicarious liability just for the doctors or whatever systems in the hospital, just like that, bank also has to own up to their official or their officers. You know what happens normally when you file a complaint against any problem in the bank where you have been cheated, the fraud, in that fraud some officer is obviously involved. Without anybody it cannot happen. So in that case what they do, they keep on asking for dates, the lawyers, and they keep saying that there's an inquiry against this particular case, so it is taking time. We will file this as soon as we get this information, the inquiry report, and that inquiry report never comes. By the time that man would have retired and is gone, and then bada mushkil say if it comes, it comes, and then it becomes just stale case. People, you also lose interest. But now I'm very happy that the amendment, they're thinking that if first thing is that they should not file a revision petition against a case which has been decided in the lower fora. District Forum and State Commission have concurred with the judgment. Then National Commission, they need not come unless some remote reason that they can explain themselves for that. And in bank cases, you have to say that whether the report comes or not, I want this to be done. My money stuck in this particular case. Let them put this money and they can do whatever they want to do with that bank official later on. Whether they want to dismiss him or take it from his account, whatever they do, bank is liable because on face of it, you have been cheated. It's a fraud case. So you have a strong case, you must fight it, and you must write to Reserve Bank. Now they're all putting it on websites. All banks, it is going to the top management. It's not anymore the local level. You write this copy to the chairman of the bank. I'm not joking, they're taking serious interest.
And if the ombudsman also does not hear it and refers you to an alternate forum, is that also a ground? We write to the banking ombudsman and he does not entertain such cases?
Why won't he? What is the reason?
No reason given. We've been asked to go to an alternate forum.
Actually, I'm not against any ombudsman or anything. Honestly, consumer fora are the best places for you to file a complaint. Reason being, ombudsman cannot give compensation beyond whatever that is, stated there. Whereas here, they can give compensation, they can give you legal costs, they can give you interest, they can do many things depending on, and they can punitive costs. Anything can be done if you're depending on your case. I personally feel consumer protection because ombudsman also they're all in that particular state of mind, the set mind. Here consumer forum, it's a very open mind. They see it differently. Ombudsmen come from the banking only, they're all bankers somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. Mostly they're all from the banks. So they have the same mindset. They continue to be in the same mindset. Not saying that that's also a way of clearing up a lot of load on the banks in these cases. But
I want to go a step further. We have a legal resource center that is free. I think we have to cut this here because there are a lot of people having questions and you are wanting to discuss it in detail. Write to our legal resource center. It is free. Yeah?
My name is Patil. I'm working for a Tata company. My two questions. One is similar to the one that lady just now spoke. It is about these lot of frauds which are taking place on credit cards. In spite of that ombudsman and all that, with that particular issue, I don't want to go into the specifics of that case. But at this, I just now you mentioned that issue has to be taken to right up to this vice. That issue has been taken right up to the vice president of that HDFC Bank, Rajyalakshmi Rao, and because of that the pestering has stopped, but still that account has not been regularized, and still that particular colleague of mine is still facing that problem. They are still after him for recovery of some fraud which for no fault of his. So whether such issues also can be taken up with the
Absolutely. I'll tell you a simple case which will come. Somebody had taken, some whatever loan maybe. It was all, he had paid everything to the banks. It's a city bank. He's paid everything. And he closed the account also. He was fed up and he closed it. And thereafter, he was getting letters that our bankers have called on you many times and visited you. You have not paid your dues, some small amount, but still you have not paid the dues. As a last resort to help you out, you don't have to pay so much amount back, but we've decided to make it, we must be going through bad times, so we made it less for you, certain amount. You pay that in so and so time, and we will close the account. And he was under shock. He paid everything. He closed the account also. Like a couple of years, one of those usual, computer savvy mail has come. And he filed a complaint against the bank. How can you do this to me? Bank said, how is he put to loss? I mean, he's only a letter. I mean, how is he put to loss? He's not paid anything, and we're also not asking, we can withdraw. I said, how dare you insult him like this? How dare you insult him and put him through this pain that he is not a good citizen, not law-abiding citizen, and he did not pay the bank, and he's there doing like a maaf to him. Okay, you pay this much. What kind of attitude is this of a bank? A bank which has to have a high level of computerization and all. How can you send a dumb mail like this? 25,000 I made them pay.
Very good. That credit card, I think this also gets affected. His credit card standing, also
It's
gets
similar.
And my second question was about, in spite of the advertisements nowadays in the papers, not to go by the, this mis-selling which is taking place across the net through telephone calls and all, especially about insurance products. And you get, fleeced, you get, entangled because of that. Can such issues also be taken up?
You're talking
Mis-selling of insurance products.
on telephone calls? But how do you prove that? Why do you listen to all that? Oh, they're on emails. Anything mis-selling, anything, any deficiency in service or fraud or unfair trade practices, you can, yes. But you have to have some kind of evidence.
Good evening, I am Siddharth Gupta. Okay, my question is, if there is an arbitration clause in an agreement, can we directly approach the consumer court without getting into an arbitration with the other party?
You can always file the case, depending on what kind of case is that.
I had taken in
Because you're a consumer, and is it a company? Why would an arbitration clause be there in that?
That's basically I had taken a franchisee, wherein that was for my.
That's a business thing, right?
But I think
it's a commercial purpose.
Yes.
Unless you can prove that you are a very small business person, just you and one or two people working with you, and it is your livelihood, and prove yourself to be a consumer, you will be termed as a commercial.
Okay, so if I'm able to prove that, that's for my livelihood, I can file a case without getting into an arbitration?
I don't know your case, but if you can prove that this is my livelihood, and you can file it if you're a consumer. Have you paid anything to anybody?
I've paid a fees to the master franchisee.
But still, it's a commercial deal. It's a commercial deal. It's not a consumer act. It's not like you're a poor consumer, you paid somebody something and they did.
If you can spare 5 minutes,
it's
I can
a business
explain you in detail, after the session.
It's a commercial. For all purposes, it might be considered as commercial unless you can prove your point as per the definition of consumer.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Advocate Nikita Ajwani, and Mr. Ghai knows about my case. Even though I don't practice on the consumer side, I've been a victim to one case where I bought a Minute Maid bottle from Sarkari Bhandar, and there was an unfortunate incident where I found a dead insect in it and a sealed bottle. Went to the court, did everything that you had advised, written letters by RPAD, everything. My basic question today is, I'm still struggling in this litigation for the last 4 years. My question is, there is an attitude problem that these corporates have. They do not want to succumb to settlements or any kind of, unless like the orders from the Supreme Court, to any kind of payments to, the consumer, because that becomes like a precedent where they will owe money to other consumers if their product is still defective. So we are all victims of these corporates with their attitude, and they would get the top-notch lawyers to put you down, and probably sometimes the judges who are presiding, with no offense meant, they do get swept away by their arguments and their presence only. May not even be their argument.
No.
May not apply to you, ma'am. I've seen it happening in my case. So I just want to know, how do we overcome being victims of these corporates?
At what stage are you? Is this case?
I'm still at the district forum. It's been 4 years, and my case hasn't been decided because till 3 years they took, till 2 years they took all frivolous grounds for, that your report is from a...
May I come directly to the point? The issue was that whether there is an insect or not in a sealed bottle, and to prove that it was sent by the consumer forum to a particular laboratory for testing. The laboratory sends a letter to the consumer forum, rather just a communication saying that we'll carry out visual testing and not actual chemical analysis. When the letter goes to the consumer forum without any order, the registrar approves of that and says that, okay, so long as you are testing it in any way, we have no objection. So the bottle is examined, inspected visually, and some opinion is given. Forget the opinion because we are not on the merits of the case. While all this is happening, the bottle is still in the custody of the laboratory. The other side objects to the visual inspection, saying, how can you conclude on the basis of visual inspection? When there is an inquiry by the bench as to where is the bottle, and let us see the bottle and let us send it for a proper analysis, the consumer forum is not able to trace the bottle. Ultimately, it is believed that the bottle is still with the laboratory. And the laboratory says that we have destroyed it after testing. So now where are you as a consumer? And what is the consumer forum supposed to do? Because this blunder has been committed by its own registrar.
Simple thing, very simple thing. Before you give the bottle, please have it tested individually, get a report, and then
you cannot. It has to go through the forum.
You get it. You get it done on your own.
Once it is open, you cannot do it. You cannot. It won't.
Because
you cannot get a second sealed bottle with another insect.
We are not talking of a fraud by a consumer. Let us not talk of that.
It would
what
not
I'm
have
saying
any
is,
evidence.
first of all, before you do anything, get a report.
If I get it tested individually, would a report by a private laboratory obtained by me in my individual capacity have any binding effect on the consumer forum?
And today I gave away the bottle in sheer good faith to the forum that they were handing it over to a laboratory for testing.
But did they see when you showed it? Did they see it?
According to the forum,
The bench
those
changed.
judges have changed. There are new judges. They say we don't even know what are you talking about. Have you even seen the book?
Okay, that bench, whoever are the members,
They are already written.
doesn't matter. Well, let the district forum write to those members. Have you visually seen this insect? They can't forget some case like that.
And the fact remains that every hearing I used to take the bottle and put it on the desk. So the judge over there told me, we can't be your witnesses, ma'am. Please get a report from her. And by consent.
Actually, let me tell you, this is an extraordinary case. I mean, normally these things don't happen. There are a lot of cases in my book on the same thing. Gutka is inside, something else inside, and a lot of money has been given to whatever. And luckily, they didn't have a problem like what you're facing. In your case, I personally would make a big noise with the district forum and say that you please write to these members to whom I had shown this at that time many times, if they've seen visually this particular insect in the bottle, in the can, whatever that is, and I want them to give an affidavit as to what has happened, visually what they've done. On circumstances of each case, they can take a call on it. In that particular case, they can always make an exception to the rule. That is what, when I was writing judgment, Supreme Court judges told me, don't be afraid of some higher authority. If you think this is a genuine case and your heart is in it, whatever our rulings are, you write it, and we will also, if we agree with you, we will say in circumstances of this particular case, without any reference to a law in other cases, we will let go. So don't worry. If something is right on your side, fight it.
In spite of the judge saying that I can't be
Can I make a small point here? I think what a lot of people do, and I think maybe you should also, is to sometimes use the media. Because for the last 15, 20 years that I've been in journalism, some kind of photographic evidence then remains somewhere.
Not media evidence. It's just
So they ignore even that.
By mirror 2 times.
The court is ignoring that also.
They don't want to consider that. They're saying, how do we take this? Where is the actual evidence?
No. You need to have some evidence so that is why. No. In your particular case, you would have to say it's a deficiency in service by the registry and whoever have held with this case, and you request the forum, the bench, since that bench is not there anymore, will you please write to that bench in this particular case? There's no provisions, but you have to put in that effort just to make sure, so they can always make an extraordinary case out of yours and give.
Just one question. Can the registrar be held liable for destroying the evidence by agreeing to get...
Of course.
Okay, can we move to the next question?
My name is Dinesh Solanki. I have a question. We are usually able to get the case processed through district forum. Is there any way that company, whether in Bangalore or Delhi, can get the venue change? Is it possible for them by some way?
They will ask for venue change, or you will want to ask?
No, we don't want to ask. We want to keep the same venue because it's convenient for us. For example, in Mumbai.
No, but where was the cause of action?
Well, the companies in Bangalore, they failed in service, let's say, for example.
No, you bought it where? Whatever service, where did you take it from?
It was bought online.
Online,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
So, district forum is okay.
Then the jurisdiction is wherever you are right now, because I think they're going to now, in the amendment, they're going to talk about this online jurisdiction. Just now, there is no law on jurisdiction, and because it's an online purchase. But most likely, wherever you are staying, from where you paid the money and where the product or service has been given to you, would be the jurisdiction. But still a lot of debate on that. There is a judgment which I have also put it in this, and where they've said any place is their jurisdiction, because it's an online thing.
Second question is, district forum is now asking for a very formal format, which a normal person cannot handle it. Suppose a consumer were to put the matter in a simple format, can they reject it?
Ideally, they cannot force you in any other way, because it's not in the act. There's some format where you have to say who's the opposite parties and their address. Details of which are basics.
Basics will be there.
Yes,
but, yeah.
and if they don't, if you don't file accordingly, yes, it's a defective complaint. But if you have done it correctly and without the gaps and this and that, and it is something that is they have done it on their own. You want to please them, please them. You want to fight them, you can also say, I will not do it.
Can it be done on ordinary paper, or it has to be that green legal paper and all that?
No, not required.
Okay.
It is not in the act. It's not the rule. They cannot ask these things. It's not right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But it is being demanded, and the consumer forums refuse to even number a complaint saying it's defective. Till the defects are removed, it will not be numbered, so limitation will continue to run, because it's not considered as if you filed the complaint. There are various objections raised, and then a one-line order is usually passed saying complainant has failed to remove the objections raised by the registry, complaint dismissed.
I wish, you all told me this. I would have raised it when I was in Delhi, that because they were talking about various state commissions and their problems. Each state commission was giving their own issues and, what they're doing. And if they're demanding like this and dismissing a complaint or doing something not right, I would have brought it to the notice of the National Commission. So they would have given a direction. I didn't know that they're doing like this.
Is there a chance that there will be a grievance resolution mechanism within that?
Sorry, can I interrupt? May I request, if you have such a huge standing in Delhi, may I request after this open house, you will send the letter, and because we have a very good secretary in the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, so can we take up some of these issues?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. Please, you can put it in writing, and she can put it.
I would like you to take it up.
I will take it up, but put it together through you.
So you write to us, we'll forward it to her.
Which are reasonable, which are not extraordinary things, which are reasonable and which is not under the act, it is not under the rules. And if the district forums and state commissions are harassing you and dismissing dismissing your complaints or making noise in the we will not read this and that arrogance, please put it in writing.
Good evening. My name is Basavaraj. What recourse as a consumer I have, where if the complaint, particularly for phone companies, where we say if I have opted for a D&D, and after 1 or 2 years the service starts, automatically I start getting calls and I start getting the nuisance as usual. What recourse do I have as a consumer? Because I don't have any evidence. I have put it on their in their service which they provide, where they give you an option and you send an SMS and it becomes and it's even recognized by TRAI. I went to the TRAI website also. So my number is registered there, but then I now start, and when I ask the company, now they say that your number is no more in the D&D, this thing. So you do it again. But the point is, why should I take the trouble of going all over again? What recourse do I have in such situation as a consumer?
I agree, but I guess, and these are, our systems are failing somewhere, I suppose, if your number is not there in the D&D. What else can you do? You just have to, I think so.
They have removed it and all evidence is not there. In the sense, all my messages were deleted.
Oh.
Whatever I had saved it, as an evidence, that got deleted.
May I react to that? Now, since you don't have the evidence, you'll have to again rebuild it. Go to the website, again register for D&D. Go to the website, take a printout and retain it with you to show that you have applied and it has been registered on the website. I think it takes 3 days to a week or so. Keep that with you safely. And if again your number is deregistered, then the company will have to show that you have sent an SMS. Otherwise, it can be held liable for playing mischief.
On these calls that people are doing.
Because everybody has this problem.
Yeah. We actually, when I was on the bench, we went through this whole thing for many, many months, and we went, we were about to give a judgment on that. By the time they went to Supreme Court also, independently, and then Supreme Court said, this is what we also gave the judgment. So we are very strict about it, but then if you're saying that this is what has happened, some system failure maybe, I don't know, that suddenly your number, whatever, you can't get. But as he says, you have to rebuild because there's no evidence, no?
Yeah.
I may believe you, but that is not valid enough.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Mr. Mahesh. I've been hearing a lot of grievances from a lot of people, but I would like to share a very short thing about a positive thing which has happened with me also. This is basically regarding medical policies. I have around 5-6 policies. A lot of members in my family had gone through a lot of problems and all that. So in the past around 3 years or so, I must have taken a claim for around 10 of the policies also. And I have observed one thing, that whenever you put a claim, it was with a reputed company and United and all of them, they usually on a normal course deduct around 10 to 20% of it on a very flimsy ground. And if you really don't take up the matter with them, they really don't bother about it. But if you are persistent about it, you are almost winning the case, but your correspondence has to be absolutely very clear, as Mr. Jahangir is also saying also. And even on the smallest pretext, if I'm talking to Mr. X on the phone, I make it a point that I make a note of it and I send him a mail that I have spoken to him on so-and-so discussion has taken place, and he would revert back to me. So which has helped me, and all the 10 cases which I have taken up, and almost all of them have got all the money, 100%, except for an admission fee of 50 rupees which has been deducted, which is not admissible as per the medical policy which has been told to me. So it is very important that you persist it, and it should be in mail, even a normal dialogue with a person whom you are corresponding to. And what he has said also is very important, because that really helps you, and the person who is across you knows that you are pursuing the matter. So he knows that this is not a business where you can, get around with him also. So you really have to do it, and it really helps. I have done it with at least 3-4 companies, and I'm talking about 10 cases, and in all 10 cases I've been successful.
That's the proof. That's the proof. Exactly. What I'm saying, write the registered letter. When I'm saying, even if you made 10 calls before that to those people, and you in your letter to them, you keep writing, I called twice, I called 5 times, so-and-so day, so-and-so day, so-and-so day, and you have not replied, or you've said like this, whatever, you have to put it. The moment you write that letter and saying that many calls and they have not bothered to reply, that is your evidence. They have not bothered to reply. That means it is true. So that those letters are so important. That little, extra work you have done got to the money back. Just that's all you have to write. Just be vigilant. Just write that letter. Don't say I made calls. This is absolutely meaningless story. They come and say I called 10 times. That has no meaning. Even if you call, whoever says the name is, you write next day that mail. I've called so and so. He has replied, but he has not done anything. Like that. These are the bullet points you put, and that is your evidence in the consumer courts always.
Since we are running short of time, we'll just take 2 more questions. One and the last gentleman who had put up his hand.
Good evening, ma'am. Whether the housing society are covering this consumer?
Yes.
Yeah. So what will be the limitation? As you said, the limitation is there of 20 lakhs of 20 from district forum and state forum. Suppose if you have paid the money for the housing construction, it is in few lakhs. But today, if you are asking for the compensation of a flat, similar flat will cost crores of rupees, as the example which you have quoted. So in which forum should you file the complaint?
Okay, the question is that supposing you have booked the flat at a particular, the agreement value is say 15 lakhs. And it's not delivered to you. You file a complaint. The market value of the same flat today is over 20 lakhs. So where should you file a complaint? Before a district forum as per the agreement value, or before a state commission as per the market value?
Considering your case is such a thing that over the time, your agreement value with interest itself will come to quite a lot. It will come to anyway about 20 lakhs, I'm sure. So it will go to anyway state commission, even if you don't look at the market rate. Even if you're going to ask for interest, right? And some compensation.
Compensation in the form of flat, is it not? Because I had booked
How
a
much?
flat.
What is the money you paid?
Initially, it was a few lakhs.
No, tell me how much.
5 lakhs.
You paid 5 lakhs.
Yeah.
And then that was the last.
Now the value of that flat is over 1.5 crores.
Then you don't ask for refund. You ask for a flat.
Whether I can ask for a flat.
Then you ask for a district
And
forum. As far as you're
question.
concerned, that is the money you paid and that is the district
One more
forum.
question is there. If there is any pending litigation regarding that against the society, whether pending that litigation, I can file a consumer dispute in the...
You have nothing to do with the litigation of the society with somebody else. Your case is with the society.
Yeah, but
Yes.
if suppose some litigation is pending in some other courts with the same society with respect to same flat, whether I can file a case in the consumer forum. Pending that litigation.
You file your case against the society.
Yeah.
Let the society say what they have to say. First you file it. Then the society might say, in that particular case, let him also come and join in whichever civil liability, that whatever the case is. They may ask you to just join there. But at least they'll file a reply, a fitting reply they have to give. They may not give you a reply, but they have to give a reply in the forum.
If you are not a party to the dispute, you can choose your remedy. Then it would depend. You cannot ask. It would be too complicated a question to answer like this.
But when they file the reply, in that they will only say, let him come there as a party.
If you are a claimant, it's different.
Yeah.
I'm again going to say detailed individual cases like this, which are complicated, please approach our free legal resource center. It's much easier for people to study it and give you a considered reply rather than in a forum like this where more people can get an opportunity.
The last question.
Good evening. I'm Captain Richard Sequera. First, I want to thank you, Rajyalakshmi, for sharing all your wisdom and experience. Thank you so much. Also, Jahangir and Suchita for arranging this. I've got 2 positives here, nothing about criticism, which I have done myself without a consumer forum. And I've got one important suggestion to give you before we wind up so we can take this further because this matters so close to my heart. I had bought an HP printer 7288, which was top of the lines. This was about 6-7 years ago. And all of a sudden, when after I changed the cartridges, it worked for some time, I got some error. So I picked up the phone, rang it. I run my business from my bungalow, so printing and all is very important to me. And they said, oh, this error and this, could you get it? Rang up Delhi, Noida, ended up in Lower Parel. First thing which shocked me, there were 6 guys on the phone, little work desk, not even a screwdriver on it. I just put it there, I'm wondering what service center is this? He looks at it, he's saying, Saab, this alarm is that you have bought fake cartridges. I said, you think I'm going to spend 24,000 rupees on a printer and buy fake cartridges? I said, do I look like a fake? So he said, no, ye hai, no hai. Took it, rang up Delhi. Our customers know, they know this, they know that. This went on the internet also for about 4 or 5 days. Then I just thought to myself, I said, why the heck am I dealing with these idiots? They are not listening to me. So what I did is I got Mark Hurd, the president of HP. Okay, I got his personal email. I sent him an email, marked a copy of all this. And when their office opened, I rang up. His PA got the phone. He says, Captain, your thing is being done in half an hour. Delhi rings me up. They are ready this. Everyone's running. New printer. I said, that is customer care. Second case happened with Motorola. Top of the line, we are good phone. I noticed after 3 months I'm using it, this dial pad is not looking good. I said, 15,000 buck phone then, that time about 6-7 years ago. So I rang you saying, so this warranty, I could make it from the attitude, they didn't care. Again I said this again. I said, well, I'm talking to this guy. Rang up, spoke to the top guy in Delhi. He's saying, we'll change that pad. I said, listen, how can you change the top pad when you got a pressure system down below? So he's saying, okay, Captain. He's saying, you get your new phone. The next day I got it. So my thing is that you go out to the highest level, talk about it, and after that I have seen a lot of things on forums on the internet. They are terrified. Somebody said, Reliance, you put that thing on the internet on a consumer forum, the Reliance man will answer you. Whether it is a telephone, telecom or anything, they are mortified. Even Amazon, they got different ratings, this star, that star. So today when they get the feedback, it can make them or break them. So we have to keep the leadership and get the best thing done. I'm just saying, don't just grind, do intelligent hard work. Yeah? Now about the suggestion part,
you're a smart consumer. My second book is The Smart Consumer. You're that.
see, madam, another suggestion I want to...
Can you please be brief?
Yeah, one minute. I finished.
So we have to end.
Yeah, I'm just a suggestion, I've finished. My suggestion is this, that a lot of reforms are happening in Delhi. If you, with your great wisdom and experience, can put this whole thing and write directly to Narendra Modi himself, the way I have done, and on 29th of Jan, he thanked me for certain things, great things will happen. Because in what you are doing, you alone are worth more than 100,000 of us. So you will be listened to, your things will happen, reforms will start from the top, if he takes interest. Thank you.
Okay, it's upon me to propose a vote of thanks, but before that I have one small question to the panelists, which is that a lot of people are confused about which is the best strategy, not in terms of law or procedures or whatever, because there are a lot of independent regulators today governing the financial services area. There is an insurance ombudsman, there's a banking ombudsman, and so on and so forth. So if a case can be proceeded with in consumer court or let's say an insurance ombudsman as a strategy, where should the consumer go first?
I honestly believe it may take time, but I think consumer courts are the right place to go to because they have no vested interest, unlike these ombudsmen. I'm not saying they have vested interest, but they come with the same mindset. It's very difficult to beat that mindset. Small cases they may decide, but they may not do great justice if you have certain issues. I think you should go to consumer forum where you can ask for compensation and interest which they can liberally give compared to the ombudsman. Ombudsmen are restricted to their directions. I mean, that is my view, but it is your personal choice.
I will not just give a view, but I'll tell you my first-hand experience. Most of these ombudsmen are retired CMDs of public sector banks or insurance companies or whatever the field. And the system which you are fighting is more deeply embedded in their blood. So it is pointless. It is a post-retirement cushy accommodation which is given to them for doing no work. In fact, about more than 75% of the complaints are rejected by the banking ombudsman. And if you go to the banking ombudsman's report, you will find that the cost of handling each complaint is an enormous amount. compared to the disposal of cases and redressal of grievances. Of course, after the ombudsman, you can go to the consumer forum. But that means the time which you have spent with the ombudsman, before the ombudsman, adds up to the total time of getting the redressal. So instead of that, short circuit the procedure, avoid those delays, directly go to the consumer forum and get compensation.
Thank you very much. Again, as Sucheta mentioned, I must reiterate that we have what is called a legal resource center. You can go to the website, find it very easily, put in your question online, you get a direct reply, and we'll pass it on to an expert for them to sort of review and sort of respond to it. We do not offer to substitute a lawyer, so it's not going to be a legal opinion as such, but it's going to give you a very preliminary, unbiased and genuine direction, including practical cases like what Mr. Sequeira pointed out, those kind of strategies as well. Today, I must add to one other point that he's mentioned, which is all the major corporations today are on Twitter and on Facebook. This is something that they don't know what to do with it. They are embracing it in terms of creating customer connect, but it's also a forum for us to exploit and leverage in case you're not getting the right kind of sort of solutions from them, and you can get results almost instantly. Somebody created a website on Make My Trip. One of the examples that somebody gave here was about Make My Trip, and really shamed them in the internet forums. It went viral and everybody was sharing that particular story. So please leverage the use of technology, Twitter, Facebook, any other forum that you can think of, including mouthshut.com. Thanks very much, Mrs. Rao and Mr. Jahangir Ghai, very much for this fantastic, stimulating discussion. I wish it could go on, but maybe we'll do it another day very soon. Mr. Ghai, we thank ICICI Bank and Disha Financial Counseling, as we mentioned, for making this program happen. And finally, let me thank the huge family of Moneylifers here and outside for their constant support for a program like this. We thank you all for being here. Thanks very much.